Good afternoon. Welcome. I'm Reverend Emily Gage. My pronouns are she and her. I serve as Associate Minister of this Unity Temple Unitarian Universalist congregation. We are here this afternoon to celebrate the life and mourn the loss of Roy Lundin, who died March 29th, 2025, at the age of 89. Roy lived a long and very full life, and he leaves a great legacy of memories, stories, descendants, and love. Over his lifetime, Roy was so many things to so many people: a grandson, a son, a big brother, a friend, a schoolmate, a student, a co-worker, a boss. He became a husband, a dad, a grandfather, and even a great-grandfather. He lived a life of thoughtfulness, humor, wisdom, compassion, storytelling, devotion, and integrity. He traveled our country and around the world and was also thoroughly happy at home. He was wise in the ways of group dynamics and organizations, and although he was wise, he never gave advice unsolicited. He never took the gift of life for granted either, and lived it deeply and thoughtfully. We, each of us, are the better for having known Roy in our own lives. In Unitarian Universalism, we light our chalice to mark our time together as sacred, and Roy's great-granddaughters Hanley and Avery are going to light our chalice for us this afternoon. We light our chalice in gratitude for the gifts of life, memories, stories, and love. Roy Charles Lundin was born on May 29, 1935, in Chicago to Roy and Marie Lundin, and just a few later became a protective older brother to his sister Joan. 3 grandparents lived close by, and he was free to be a kid as he wished in those years on the South Side, outside of his family's apartment. He played a lot of pickup, or as he later referred to it, self-organized baseball, and he ran a lot. Why walk when you can run? There was no car in the family, so anywhere he got was through public transportation or his bicycle. He flew kites and recalled the joys of a box of fireworks. He got started on his great love of music by listening to big band on the radio. Roy grew up a casual Catholic. He started working in his early teenage years, and one of his jobs was as a bellhop and switchboard operator at the Ridgeview Hotel. One of his regularly scheduled shifts was Sunday mornings, so he chose 75 cents an hour rather than going to Mass. The family moved north to Evanston, where Roy went to high school, and then he chose Northwestern for college because, well, it was local. Of his college career, Roy said the only thing of note was that was where he met Shirley, who became his wife of 69 years. Indeed, he lists September 1st, 1956, the day they got married, as the best day of his life, or at least the one that shaped him the most. By their senior year in college in 1957, their first child, Michael, had been born, and they somehow managed, being commuting students, finding multiple part-time jobs, and first-time parents, to make it to graduation. Working at the YMCA in Evanston and a mentoring supervisor led Roy to George Williams College, where he graduated with a degree in group dynamics. While Roy grew up in a household where his mother worked only at home, he and Shirley built a real partnership. While he grew up in a family without a car, he and Shirley moved to different places, including Dallas, Texas, and St. Louis, Missouri, and as soon as they were able, started traveling with Michael and then later his 2 sisters, Laura, born in '59, and Beth, born in 1965. At first, it was camping because that was all they could afford. Later, when they were more financially secure, he and Shirley took on the world, and a favorite trip was one to Kenya. Still, the values of frugality and devotion to marriage, honesty, and responsibility were instilled in him by his parents. Roy had a long and full career, starting with the Y and ending in the corporate world of craft and general foods. He was ever the coach, always helping others, working to improve group dynamics and strengthen organizations. He was never the guy in the spotlight, just the person adding the right amount of wisdom and encouragement to help things along. When he retired from working, he helped lend those skills on a volunteer basis. The Lundins settled in Oak Park in 1978. The family had chosen Unitarian Universalism as their spiritual home at the UU Fellowship in Evansville, Indiana. And when they arrived here, they discovered a wealth of UU congregations, not just Unity Temple, but within easy reach in surrounding communities. And so in 1979, they joined this congregation, which was then known as the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Park. Roy's group leadership skills were such that he was pressed into service for the boards of Unity Temple Congregation, the Unity Temple Restoration Foundation, as well as the larger UU world. Roy was instrumental in organizing, training, coordinating the work of dozens of congregational consultants for a pioneering program in the then Central Midwest District, which is the precursor to the Mid-American region of the Unitarian Universalist Association. His wisdom and perspectives help empower leaders and strengthen Unitarian Universalist congregations for miles around. I first moved to the Midwest, to Joliet, to begin ordained ministry in 1997, and 2 years later I was serving on the Central Midwest District Board. And so I cannot remember a time in my ministry when I did not know Roy and Shirley and their great work in the district. It was an extra bonus for me when I came to serve this congregation, and I knew that I would get to be one of their ministers. When I think of Roy, I picture him sitting quietly at the edge of a meeting, taking it all in, and if you turned to him and asked, he always said some astute perspective or witty remark. I also picture him amidst so many church members who were decades-long friends, engaged in lively conversation. Roy was a good listener and storyteller. He had a great sense of humor. He was a devoted and loyal men's group and Chalice Circle member, cultivating and sustaining deep relationships for the long haul. He enjoyed all the social gatherings that Unity Temple had to offer, and his presence always meant good company and conversation. Roy believed heartily in the importance of making the world a better place. His work and friendship and presence did that both directly and indirectly. In addition to his 3 kids, Mike, Laura, and Beth, Roy was grandpa to 7 grandkids: Matthew, Kevin, Aaron, Elena, Rachel, Gabrielle, and Emma, and great-grandpa to 4, Adrian, Tegan, Hanley, and Avery. We know that the world was a better place for Roy having been in it, and what a gift it will continue to be to have known him. In his last years, Roy deeply loved the beautiful and peaceful oasis that he and Shirley created at their home in Indian Head Park, where they lived beginning in 1997. He hated to leave it, but they finally did in the last year of his life. Roy had some health challenges in his lifetime, and he never, from a very young age, took life for granted. He lived his life fully and for much longer than anyone expected, including himself, and we can all be deeply grateful for that. The last time that Roy made it to Unity Temple here, this space, was in October of 2024. It took considerable effort to make that happen because of his physical limitations at the time, but he was determined. It was the Peter Mayer concert that we held here. Peter Mayer was one of Roy's longtime favorites, and Peter Mayer's Blue Boat Home, one of Roy's favorite songs of his, and one of the favorites of our congregation, and we're going to sing it together. Roy's friends, Jim Parks and Doug Cole, are going to lead us, and the lyrics will be up on the screen. going to have a few of Roy's beloveds also share remembrances, and the first one is from Laura, his daughter.
I am Laura, Roy's middle child. I would like to thank all of you for being here today to celebrate my father's life. My dad loved his maps. Sorry.
My dad loved his maps. The old-fashioned paper kind that crinkled and folded and could never be properly refolded. I remember him spreading a large map on the kitchen table to plan the best route for an upcoming family vacation. He explained the legend and the various map markings, and we used our fingers to trace rivers and roads. He shared important tidbits, like odd-numbered interstates run north and south, and even ones run east and west, which reassured me that the world was an orderly place. We had some wonderful family vacations, mostly camping in Kentucky. We slept on cots in a large canvas tent, the kind that leaked if you touched the sides. My brother always got the job of unfolding the shovel and digging a trench so the tent would not flood in the rain. Although not done today, this was standard camping practice when we were kids. As were hot dogs cooked on an open fire and s'mores. We always had everything we might need, thanks to Dad's extensive camping supply checklist. Whether preparing for vacations or managing day-to-day life, Dad was very good at planning, tracking details, and making course corrections if necessary. He effortlessly handled all of the mundane details of life, like bills and car maintenance and house repairs. At least he made it look effortless. He worked very hard in his career to provide for the family and establish a stable financial base. Both of our parents were frugal, careful with money, but generous. They helped fund the college education of their children and grandchildren to provide a strong foundation on which to build our lives. Dad was reliable, the rock of our family. We could always count on him to listen and dispense good, solid advice, but only when asked, never unsolicited. He was a kind man with a strong moral code. To quote my sister, he believed strongly in our responsibility to make the world a better place, and he took advantage of every opportunity to provide equity for all. He did not crave the spotlight and was more likely holding the camera than in the picture. He was often quiet and contemplative until dropping one of his witty comments, which were always astute, usually funny, but never depreciating. His humor was spot on, but not at someone else's expense. For some reason, after raising 3 kids, my parents thought they deserved a vacation. Weird. Their first big trip was a safari in Kenya, witnessing elephants, giraffes, and lions. Then came adventures to other beautiful places like Japan, China, Peru, Mexico. Dad photographed their experiences and selected the best photos to load into his projector. He had dozens of carousels at the ready and was happy to share those slides at every family gathering. Dad loved jazz. Dave Brubeck, Glenn Miller, Duke Ellington, all of the greats. He used to have an extensive collection of 78 records, which were jettisoned during one of our moves. He enjoyed listening to jazz throughout his life. He was very specific on wanting a New Orleans-style jazz band and dancing during his reception. There's no other music better suited to celebrate a life well lived.
And this is Rachel.
It's always good to have a backup plan at an occasion like this. Roy's grandson, Aaron, is going to share.
Hello, I'm Aaron. I will be reading some excerpts from Roy's own writings, as well as giving a brief summation of his professional journey. These writings describe some of his thoughts and experiences surrounding his 1958 move from the south side of Chicago to Dallas, Texas, fresh out of college and with the very beginnings of his new family in tow for his first job working at the YMCA. Having accepted the job with the Southeast branch of the Dallas YMCA, we were eligible for a paid move of our earthly possessions. That was a bit comical since our furnishings were so sparse. My early compulsion about music included an extensive collection of 78 RPM records stored on shelves of boards and bricks. The moving company packers kept chuckling as they loaded records, bricks, and boards into boxes. When I asked what was so funny, they said, "We just packed the boxes. Tomorrow the crew has to carry them down 3 flights of stairs." It hadn't dawned on me how significant a change we were getting into. The first summer, I helped staff day camp. In July 1958, Dallas had 20 days of temperatures over 100 degrees, and I was saying, "Come on, kids, let's take a hike." As a city boy, I never saw a real horse, but now I was riding and supervising kids. At the campsite, I was aware of rattlesnakes and scorpions, but not chiggers. One day at the swimming pool, a kid said, "Those chiggers sure do love you Yankees." I was covered with red welts that itched and bled when I scratched. When I got home, I asked Shirley, "What's a chigger?" We soon became experts on the subject. Shortly after arriving in Dallas, although I had no instruction or driving experience, I got my first driver's license. Our first car was a new 1958 Renault 4CV stick shift. My driving prowess expanded to driving the Y's 40-passenger stick shift bus. In 2 years, I held the record for being the only bus driver to be accident-free. One of the groups I'd organized was comprised of local high school boys who loved to play basketball. To build on that interest, I set up a game against a team from another branch, a black team. Then I tried to rent a gym where the teams could play. No one would rent a facility for interracial games. The other Y was building-centered, so I loaded our group onto the bus and we played on their court, probably the first such game in Dallas. The kid from the south side of Chicago that once ran in fear of a black man was now starting to rock the boat of the status quo. The family didn't stay long in Dallas, and within 2 years, Roy accepted a Y job in St. Louis, Missouri, working with a building-centered YMCA across from Busch Stadium. His job involved running youth programs, including teams from segregated neighborhoods with competitive schools that traditionally did not mix. Teen dances were not well received, but Roy proposed opening a game room equipped with pool tables, ping pong, and shuffleboard for several nights a week. Staff was hired, the doors were opened, and the game room became a popular spot. By 1965, the family had grown to 5 members, and Roy's sense of family responsibility propelled him to find work in the corporate sector. The skills he'd developed in organizational development and personal management opened new doors that led to a long and successful career in organizational development, training, and personnel with Kraft Foods. Roy was a dedicated and a valued employee for 35 years until 1998, when he retired from full-time corporate work and created Lundin Associates, his own consulting practice. Retiring did not mean that my grandpa was done putting in the skills he had honed professionally to use, though. And in 2012, he received recognition for his work with the Central Midwest District of UUA for being instrumental in organizing, training, and coordinating consultants in that pioneering program launched in the Central Midwest District of UUA. Still building communities and bringing people together, just like he had 50 years prior in Dallas. Thank you.
We're going to hear from Ken Hooker, who is speaking on behalf of the men's group.
Our highly organized men's group has began meeting in April of 1989. Over the course of those 36 plus years, we've seen each other through pretty much every stage of life: marriage and divorce, the joys and worries of parenthood, career highs and lows, retirement, illness and disability, and yes, death. Roy is the fifth group member who has died, and we're here today to remember and honor the special role he played in our group and to share some of the things we'll miss since his passing. Roy was a relative newcomer to the group, having joined us only about 25 years ago, when he was just entering retirement. He was older than most of us and wiser too. He'd already raised a family, forged a successful career in business, and served in the lay leadership at UTUUC. We respected his experience and often sought his perspective or advice. Roy, in turn, seemed to relish the role of mentor and was generous with his time and attention when he felt that he could offer helpful advice. He didn't always talk a lot at our meetings, but we were always interested to hear what he had to say. He often waited until we were nearly finished with the discussion before neatly summing it up and adding his considered take on the topic. He could gracefully steer us back on track when the conversation got too scattered, and he had a keen sense of when to make a joke and when it was important to be serious. As a group and as individuals, we appreciated his consideration and kindness. The birthday cards he sent without fail, his warmly encouraging our various volunteer projects, his ability to help our group weather disagreements and arguments. Early on, he exemplified a joyful, active, and engaged retirement we could all aspire to, traveling, spending concentrated time with his grandchildren, consulting on UU issues, and volunteer ushering for theater and musical performances. Later on, as his health and mobility declined, he inspired us with his firm commitment to the group. He continued to attend meetings regularly despite his obvious difficulty in getting around. He was willing to ask for the help he needed and to accept that help graciously. He often expressed his gratitude for our friendship and support. Through the years, Roy modeled the qualities of strength, empathy, and honesty in ways that helped to make us better men. We're grateful, Roy, and we'll miss you.
We're also going to hear from Ron Moline from the Romeos group.
I am Ron Moline. You know, I was thinking Roy would be a little uncomfortable with this service. He really did not like to be the center of attention, much less have people make a fuss over him. I think he felt he had nothing particularly to be eulogized about and that he was not a particularly remarkable person. I beg to differ. I think he was quite remarkable. And for that reason, I'm gratified to be speaking here on behalf of the Romeos, which, for those of you who don't know, is the really old man eating out that has been doing so most Friday mornings for about 25 years. Roy may have been one of the founding members. I'm not really sure, but anyway, he's been a constant member since I've been around. through various iterations of our group. You won't be surprised to hear that what I observed and have to say is very much reflects what Ken was saying about Roy's participation in the men's group. My words will be few because in our breakfast group, Roy's words were few. He didn't have much to say, but when he said something, you listened. He would maybe sit for 20 minutes silent while we talked, went back and forth, and then come up with just the funniest remark you could imagine, just a one-liner that captured our attention and hit our funny bone. Or, like Ken was saying, he would sum up in a few words all that we had been sort of talking about and talking around, and Roy would say, well, so what you guys mean is, yeah, that's it. That's what it was. We also gave zingers to each other from time to time. That's allowed in the breakfast group. I would watch Roy unscrewing the top to the pepper shaker. And I'd say, oh, you like a little egg with your pepper, Roy? I say, yeah, good. Or this is just made up example, but it's typical of the sort of thing he might say. I might go on a harangue for 10 minutes about Donald Trump, just carrying on, being a rage, this, that, and the other. I'd take a breath, and Roy would look at me and say, don't hold back, Ron. You have to get your feelings out. That sort of thing was typical of Roy. We will often raise a cup of coffee to Roy in our group when we meet on Fridays, and we will miss him very much.
I invite you to rise and body your spirit as you wish, and we're going to sing again. Jim and Doug are going to lead us in Peace Like a River of 3 verses. The lyrics will be up on the screen. together this afternoon with a mixture of emotions, with joy and sorrow, with sadness and gratitude. There is great joy in the life that we shared with Roy. And there's sadness because there's always sadness when someone we love and cared for has died. We make meaning by marking death in a service like this. We take comfort in being together. In times like these, we need one another in empathy and consolation, and courage and wisdom to share our stories, and sadness and gratitude. In times like these, I always think of the words in Mary Oliver's poem in Blackwater Woods. To live in this world, you must be able to do 3 things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends upon it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. Let us unite our hearts and minds in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, the spirit of Roy that filled our lives with love and delight has become one with your eternity. Grant to us a sense of continuing compassion and meaning in which all is understood and made whole. May the love in our hearts join us together in richer ways than before, and in time lead us to the peace that passes understanding. Let's pause in a collective silence to reflect upon the life of Roy Lundin, to offer our own prayer and give thanks for the way that his life touched our own. Amen. And now, with love and gratitude in our hearts, we invite you to enjoy the slideshow with some highlights of Roy's life. With joy and love in our hearts, with our minds filled with stories, with lives that will carry on Roy's legacy, we give great thanks. May we know that his memory and love will always be with us. In 2007, Roy wrote in his wishes for his memorial service that he would love a jazz band, to play both a dirge, moving into When the Saints Go Marching In. And he said, "This is not meant as a theological statement." Still joking. But as a bracket of life, sadness and joy. And if you can get the attendees on their feet and moving, that would be great. So in honor of Roy's wishes, the band is going to come up, and as the Spirit moves you, you'll need to be up on your feet and moving, and you can follow the family out to Unity House for the reception and lively music.